Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Coffee Club, the internet voice of commonsenseconversation.com. Hang around. Let's talk politics. While we're listening to a word from one of our sponsors, pour yourself a cup of coffee, pull up a chair, get ready to enjoy this week's show.
Hi folks, this is Justin from Catharsis of the Vogue blog at justinsbrainpan.com. Join me for an eclectic commentary on everything from kidney failure to fiction writing, all at Justin's Brain.
This week we're going to talk about immigration. I know I've talked about immigration before, but we're going to talk about immigration again. We're going to talk about what legal immigrants think about immigration or illegal immigration. Now, before I get started, I want to cover a couple of things here. First of all, I am not against all immigration, and I am not against people that come into this country legally. Don't have to go back but a couple of generations, and I'm an immigrant. But my forefathers came into this country legally from Scotland and Ireland. I've looked back a good bit, and my dad's family's got some German in them, and I hadn't been able to find very much. But my mother's family is almost entirely Scotch-Irish, and they came here legally. My grandmother's family came straight from Ireland, and my grandfather's family went from Scotland to Nova Scotia, and then emigrated from Canada through Ellis Island. Came in the right way. So don't even start yelling at me that I don't like immigration. I are one. However, there's a difference between legal immigration and illegal immigration. Progressives who want to throw open the borders, they don't feel like there's that much of a difference. But I was been wondering, what do people who are immigrants but got here legally, what do they think about it? I've got some friends that are from India, and I've got some other friends that are from Iran that got out after the Shah was toppled, and I asked them, what do you think of illegal immigrants? Universally, they didn't like it. They didn't like illegal immigration. They consider it an affront that their families went through everything they went through to get here and do it the right way and do it legally, and other people don't. They figure if they stood in line, so should other people. My friends followed every legal requirement the government put in front of them. And in case y'all didn't know, if you come in legally, you don't just come up and fill out a form and wait your turn. It costs time and it costs money. Sometimes, depending on what country you're coming from, it can cost a lot of money. My friends have found jobs and been responsible for their own families. They went through the legal process. Did you know that one of the parts of the legal process is that you have to be able to speak conversational English? You have to be fluent in English. How many illegal immigrants are fluent in English? Probably not a whole lot. One of my friends' families was told that it would take them at least 5 years before they would even be allowed into the country on a visa because of where they lived. Canada let them in after 2 years, and then after 2 years there, the United States let them in a little bit faster. I think they spent another 2 to 3 years in Canada. And they own a liquor store. They own a liquor store here in Jasper, Georgia, where I live. And I asked the father, I said, why are you so mad at illegal immigrants? He said, because I could have come in illegally myself. I could have gotten in. I'm from Iran. And if I'd come in, I wouldn't have been bothered. I could have asked for political asylum instead of trying to immigrate normally. and I'd have gotten in. But I felt it was important to do it legally. I said, why? I mean, if you could get in either way, what's so important about coming in legally? He said, because I, at that time, didn't have any kids, but I planned to have some. And how am I going to raise my children to follow the rule of law if the example I set is by my first act in coming to this country being to break federal law and smuggle my family in? How do I teach my kids to follow the law if I didn't? He said, I'm not going to set a bad example for my kids. I don't have any right to expect my children to obey the law if I don't. Every one of my friends, and I don't have a lot, okay, I live in the mountains of North Georgia. There are not a lot of immigrants here. But every one of my friends, 6 or 8 of them, who are legal immigrants, every single one, not most of them, every one, consider it an affront that they went through all the work they went through to get here, to see our government now ignoring people who just flout the law. Just walk across the border, you know, take a little hike through the desert, and I'm not saying that hike's not a hard hike, but take a little hike through the desert, and in 3 or 4 days, you might die in the desert, but if you don't, in 3 or 4 days, you're here, and the government's not going to deport you. You're breaking federal law, but the government's not going to deport you. And my immigrant friends really are, like I said, they consider it an affront. Oh, by the way, while we were talking about immigration, I asked my friends, I said, what is the single most important possession you have? Out of everything you own, what is the single most important possession you have? Another 100% answer. You know what it was? My citizenship in the United States of America. They all have houses. They're mostly small business people that built their businesses on their own. They didn't do like Solyndra and take government bailout. They didn't get any stimulus money. Government's not handing out stimulus money for the local liquor store. Shouldn't be handing out stimulus money for anybody. But their businesses, their cars, their houses, those were important to them. But the single most important possession they had was their citizenship papers. But we just let people waltz across the border and then don't throw them out when we find them. We're going to take a little break, and we're going to come back and talk about something besides immigration after this word from another one of our sponsors.
Are you coasting toward retirement? Or are you already there and wondering if this is all there is? Maybe you settled for average so far, but in the home stretch of your life, you don't think that's good enough. Set your sights high and design your perfect day, then make it happen. Take charge and design your lifestyle. Stop by Ralph Carlson blog, www.ralphcarlsonblog.com, and learn how to take control of your life.
Well, folks, next story up is about something our Treasury Secretary said over in Europe. Timothy Giethner, you know Timothy, Tim Turbo Tax Giethner, Treasury Secretary who can't get his taxes right because he used Turbo Tax. Got to have some kind of an excuse. Well, excuse me, folks. He was over in Europe at a meeting of the Eurogroup meeting of the Informal Economic and Financial Affairs Council. Boy, now there's a mouthful. They were meeting in Wrocław, Poland. And according to the European Times, who interviewed the Russian finance minister, she said that the finance ministers were kind of surprised when Timmy Giethner showed up, considering he hadn't been invited. But they were kind of surprised when he showed up and started yelling. Why was he yelling? Because he said they were handling their economics bad. Now, isn't that a kick in the butt? Somebody in the Obama administration says that the Europeans are doing a bad job with their economy. I guess he has lots of practice at seeing what a bad economy is and the wrong way to handle it. But that wasn't the best thing that good old Turbo Tax Tim had to say. He was asked if all of that complaining he was doing was the position of his boss. President Barack Obama. What did Turbo Tax Timmy have to say? Giethner said, Obama is not in charge. Wait a minute. Really? The finance ministers in Europe aren't the only ones that are kind of surprised about that little old detail he mentioned. Everybody in this country who's been following Giethner around, seeing what he does and where he goes and who he talks to and how his job works, we're kind of surprised too. Did he really say that? Seems like, Turbo Tax Tim, he goes to Europe fairly often. And something happens to him. There's something in the air over the Atlantic Ocean. It makes him tell the truth over there. He tells the truth about the European Union and their finances, which isn't surprising. But then he tells the truth about us and our finances too. He'll admit over there what he won't admit over here. But I keep coming back. The stunning part is he stood right there and said that the president was not in charge. Giethner is a member of Obama's cabinet, but Obama's not in charge. Who is? Giethner? Wouldn't be a fellow named George Soros, would it? No. Y'all reckon Obama's a puppet? George Soros is pulling the strings? Stranger things could happen. I wish I knew what it is about flying across the pond to find out what it is that turns a man who can't move his lips without lying into a prophet of the truth when he gets over there. If it's in the air, they need to bottle it and bring it back and turn loose some of it loose in Washington. I think that'd be just a really good idea. And if he can only do it when he's at meetings of the European Union, we need to send him to meetings every damn day and then make sure a reporter follows him around so we can find out what the truth is. Never can tell what else we might learn about the mess Obama's making of the physical policy in this country. Now, one thing I'm not surprised about. Some people are. I'm not surprised that Obama's not in charge. Obama's just a puppet. Obama is exactly like those Occupy Wall Street students. They're upset about something. They all get together and start banging on drums and raising all kind of hell on Wall Street. Don't know what they're raising hell about, but they're a convenient tool to be used by unions. Did you know the American Communist Party has officially supported Occupy Wall Street? They're a tool of the American Communist Party. Well, Obama's like those kids. Except he's a tool of one world socialism, European socialism proponents, like maybe